Hello all, I'm currently laying on my bed and unfortunately there will be some background noise with my window open because one, I don't have any AC, and two, it is quite hot over here, right? In today's video, it's kind of going to be a yap one in all honesty, with no specific topic, but me just talking about how I feel 1 year into this whole, channel business, right? I mean, it's not really a business, it's really just a hobby, right? I still have my main job and all that, and I plan to do that because I don't think I'm really fit to be, one of those full-time content creators, full-time streamers, because of how easily my voice gives out and how easily my social battery gets drained, right? And so I want to talk about the entire 1 year journey and how I feel currently, right? And I honestly have to say it's been pretty smooth for the most part. I think outside of the few controversial videos I made on HSR that people didn't like, of like me complaining about how bad Sparkle was, me predicting that there would be someone who would power creep Sparkle, and which ended up being Sunday. Then after Sparkle, the next dramas I got into in HSR were complaining about the HP inflation and power creep. I had a bunch of people, back then saying that I was completely wrong, just get better, right? And they weren't necessarily wrong. I was pretty bad at the game back then. However, at the end of the day, power creep and HP inflation is just a bad thing anyways, right? And then I'd say the next most recent thing that, was kind of negative was it was the My Day beta test and the Casterus beta test. I think these two were for sure there were some pretty bad beta tests in terms of negativity in my comments. Phanon is already one of them, but Phanon is not as bad. My Day was one of the worst because I was advocating for My Day to get buffed for his earlier versions, and when he actually got buffed, there was a bunch of agenda pushers in my comments trying to say that he was the strongest DPS in V3, which was hilarious. And for Casterus, I released a video during her earlier versions saying that I wanted her not to get buffed because I knew if she got Hyacine, she'd be the best DPS in the game by a noticeable gap. And they buffed her, she got Hyacine, and she's the best DPS in the game by a noticeable gap. Who could have guessed, right? And then I also think Ling Sha Fei Xiao, I was going really hard back then for the Ling Sha glazing and the Fei Xiao glazing. I specifically remember the Fei Xiao Doom posting being like, oh, this isn't an Acheron tier character. This is like, you're overrating her, blah, blah, blah. And then Ling Sha was like the whole 5% better than Gallagher thing. I think most people remember that one, right? So to be honest, most of like the most negative times in the history of my channel are just beta tests, right? And even then, it's hard to even call them all that negative. Like, it really isn't all that big of a deal. It's just people disagreeing with me from the thousands who agree with me, right? At the end of the day, if you're a content creator putting this out into the public, that's simply going to naturally happen, right? And I'd say probably the worst, drama slash, negativity I've faced in the last year has to be the return to Wuwa. Now, I've returned to Wuwa like 3 to 4 times on this channel at this point. However, the difference is every time I made a video returning to Wuwa, I always glazed the fuck out of it. And the Annie was the only one I didn't glaze because it just doesn't deserve it. And it led to basically everything fucking going down, right? And I have to say, if you really think about it, most of my channel's lifespan has been pretty solid, right? I'd say near Sunday's patch is for sure when I started to pick up a little more momentum. This was when I started to actually upload more consistently, stream a little, more consistently as well. I was gaining a lot more knowledge on HSR an understanding of kits and character synergies. So it was a lot easier for me to give out, genuine, decent advice. So people would watch me more to hear my opinions on like a beta cycle for a character, their kit, all that, right? And I have to say, it's been quite amazing. I truly appreciate you all. By no means am I like some massive CC, and by no means can I like quit a job and make a living off this. However, I don't plan to, and either way, like, I really just have to appreciate how, big I've grown, because I don't do anything, right? Like, I think everyone who watches me can kind of admit I am basically a slop tuber, in the sense that I don't bother editing any of my videos, I don't bother scripting them, I don't bother trying to do anything to like try and keep the viewer's attention as much as I can, right? It's basically just always me yapping and giving my opinion on, a game state, maybe a character and their kit, the leaks, my opinion on an Annie, right? And I have to say, for not even really trying to like grow at all on YouTube, I've been getting some really good support, especially in the last few months specifically. And I truly have to say, like, thank you, right? Thank you to all of you who watch me. I truly appreciate it. I understand there are so many other content creators in the space that are way more deserving of my viewers than I am. But I am so grateful that I am growing, decently, fast, not all that crazily, but in my way of seeing it, for what I put out, I think it's very nice. And once again, I keep going over and over again in loops, but it's just so crazy to think that I can stream and consistently get like 50 to 60 viewers, and if I'm streaming my main game, I can get like an average of 100, right? Which I think is great, considering I don't think I'm like all that energetic of a personality, right? I don't exactly do anything special. I don't overreact. I don't react to others' content. It's literally just me running around in these gacha games talking to chat, and it's super interactive, and I truly love seeing, some of the OGs on my channel who have been sticking with me and I still see months later, like Wilson, Kiwi, Solus, Bullets. There's a lot more. Those are just the main ones I can, get off the top of my head, right? Ahmed, Timeline, Person. Is there another one? Draco. There's a lot of people out here who I would like to name, but obviously I can't off the top of my head because of how tired I am. And I truly am grateful to all of your support and everything, right? I have to say that with the recent Woowa stuff, and I want to be honest here, right? I almost fell into the cesspool that I hate, which is continuously retaliating against these big, drama CCs who really just like to stir the pot, because that's what gets the views and that's what gets the big bucks. And I became a little too emotionally invested in it, right? And I fully realized that, I don't exactly fault myself for this. However, I should try to be better and to simply ignore it as best as I can, because at the end of the day, especially with what I've gone through in the earlier years of my life, I should know at this point that just stepping away and letting yourself recollect your thoughts for, a few days, you'll instantly be able to feel better and just not be bothered by this stuff, right? But me recently being so on the internet, me uploading daily, me streaming daily, has led to, like me being a little more frustrated more easily, right? A little more ticked off. And so I've decided that after, a year straight of this channel on HSR making content, and like the last few months have just been me grinding the shit out of streams and videos, I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Not that long. If I had to guess, a few days to a week, because it really doesn't take much for me to like refresh my energy. It doesn't take all that much. However, just a small break so that I can kind of charge up again and be a lot more excited and energetic and actually want to pump all these videos. Because if I get complete burnout out of this shit, then it's gonna feel like I'm forcing it, and I don't want to do that, right? Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Thanks for staying here and listening to my yap if you made it all the way. I appreciate you all. I truly do. This may sound a bit weird, but I really just love, humans, if that makes sense, right? Like being able to talk, being able to communicate, hear others' opinions, I truly just love people. And to think that so many people, right? Because the internet does blind us sometimes, right? You don't think, 100 people watching me is that crazy. But put that in perspective in real life. Imagine 100 people right in front of you watching you entertain, right? And it sounds and looks like a lot, and that's because it is. I am truly just so happy, right? Despite my low energy most of the time, on the inside, even though if I don't express it, it makes me incredibly happy what you guys have done for me, and I absolutely love talking with you all. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out.